The rain came down in sheets, drenching the world in cold, relentless drops. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and despair, the kind that clings to you like an unwanted memory. And on the side of a forgotten stretch of road, beside a ditch thick with mud and tangled weeds, lay a golden retriever. His coat, once the color of sunlight, was matted and filthy, clumped with mud and dried blood. His ribs pressed against his skin like fingers trying to break free. His eyes, pools of amber, once full of joy and boundless love, had dulled to a glassy haze of pain and resignation. He shivered uncontrollably, each breath rattling in his chest. A cough broke free, wet and harsh, sending a fresh wave of agony through his frail body. His legs twitched as if even in his broken state, he dreamed of running, of playing, of being loved. But the world was indifferent. Cars roared by, headlights slicing through the rain like knives. No one slowed, no one cared. Somewhere in his hazy mind, he remembered gentle hands, warm laps, the sound of laughter. But those memories were ghosts now. All that was left was the cold and the hunger and the slow, creeping darkness. He was dying, and he knew it. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Rachel hated rainy days. They felt like broken promises, the sky crying for reasons she couldn't understand. But she couldn't stay cooped up inside, not with her thoughts clawing at her like restless animals. So she drove, letting the rain pelt against her windshield, her wipers fighting a losing battle against the storm. Her mind was tangled in grief. 6 months since her husband Mark had passed. 6 months of silence where laughter once lived. The house felt like a mausoleum, each room heavy with the weight of what was missing. She gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white. "Just drive," she whispered to herself. "Just keep moving." The flash of gold on the roadside made her foot hit the brake before her mind even registered what she'd seen. Number it couldn't be, but when she reversed her car, her heart stammered in her chest. A dog, a golden retriever, barely more than a heap of wet fur and bones. "Oh God," she breathed, slamming her door open and rushing into the rain. He didn't even move as she approached, just lay there, his chest rising and falling with shallow, tortured breaths. "Hey," she whispered, kneeling beside him. Her hands hovered, afraid to touch him, afraid to break him. "Hey, sweet boy." His eyes opened, just a fraction, enough to meet hers. The sadness there was staggering, but beneath it, there was something else. A glimmer of hope, so small it was almost lost in the rain. "I'm here," Rachel choked out, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. "I'm here. You're not alone." She slid her hands gently beneath him, his body trembling against her touch. As she lifted him, he whimpered, but his gaze never left hers. It was as if he was clinging to her with what little strength he had left. Rachel's living room became a makeshift hospital. She laid the dog on a pile of old blankets, his fur leaving streaks of mud and grime on everything he touched. But she didn't care. With trembling hands, she cleaned his wounds, her breath catching every time he whimpered. It was clear he had been left to suffer for far too long. As she worked, she talked to him about Mark, about how the house felt too big and too quiet, about how she had lost herself in the emptiness. He listened. She could see it in his eyes, the way his gaze stayed fixed on her, as if her words were the only thing keeping him anchored to this world. "I think you need me," she said softly, her fingers brushing over his ear. "And God, I think I need you." She fed him tiny pieces of boiled chicken, his jaws working weakly but gratefully. When he drank water from her cupped hands, she nearly sobbed with relief. The vet visit the next morning was grim. Severe malnutrition, pneumonia, infections that had taken hold from untreated wounds. The vet's expression was gentle but clear. "He's been through hell," Dr. Kim said, her voice heavy. "It's a miracle he's even alive." "Can you save him?" Rachel's voice cracked. "We can try, but it's going to be a long road. Whatever it takes." Days blurred into weeks. Rachel devoted herself to the dog she'd started calling Lucky. Not because he was fortunate, God, no, but because she hoped to change his luck. She spent her nights curled up beside him on the floor, her body wrapped around his to keep him warm. His fur grew back, golden strands pushing through the dullness. His eyes brightened, their amber glow returning with each passing day. Rachel found herself laughing again, even if it was just at Lucky's clumsy attempts to stand, his legs wobbling like a newborn foal. He was determined, stubborn even, and she loved him for it. One morning, weeks after their first meeting, Rachel took Lucky outside. His paws met the grass, and for a moment he looked at her as if asking permission. "Go on, Lucky," she encouraged, her voice thick with emotion. "You've got this." He took a step, then another, his legs still unsteady but growing stronger. And then, as if the earth itself had given him permission to be free, he ran. Rachel's laughter bubbled up, unstoppable and pure. She watched him bound across the yard, his golden coat glinting in the sunlight. It was as if the rain had never touched him. Months later, Lucky was a different dog. His body had filled out, his coat shone, and his eyes sparkled with a joy that had been missing for far too long. Rachel had changed too. The grief she carried for Mark hadn't vanished, but it had softened. The pain was still there, but it no longer consumed her. It was a cold autumn morning when she realized just how much Lucky had healed her. They were sitting together on the porch, his head resting on her lap as she stroked his fur. "I think you saved me too, Lucky," she whispered. He looked up at her, eyes full of trust and unwavering love. Rachel smiled, tears glistening in her eyes, because she knew without a doubt that Mark had sent him, a sign that life could be beautiful again, even after the darkest of storms. Like a video and subscribe to my channel. Please, thanks for watching.